Welcome to OmniView, episode 117, Balanced News Perspectives. Today is July 19th, 2026. The day's biggest stories from around the world, what happened, how different viewpoints frame it, so you can decide for yourself. 2 U.S. soldiers killed in Jordan mark the first American deaths since renewed Iran fighting, raising stakes for Middle East stability and global shipping routes. 2 American service members died and a third remains missing after an Iranian attack on a U.S. base in Jordan. These deaths represent the first from hostile fire since a truce earlier this year. The United States responded with new airstrikes targeting Iranian Revolutionary Guard positions. The strikes follow 8 consecutive nights of U.S. operations and Iranian attacks reported on targets in Kuwait and Bahrain. France 24 and Al Jazeera describe the sequence as the heaviest fighting since February. The Guardian notes that Iranian leaders have warned Washington of further consequences while U.S. officials frame the response as necessary punishment. Regional governments are watching whether the exchanges remain limited to military sites or expand to civilian infrastructure and shipping lanes. Observers will track whether additional U.S. strikes target specific Iranian oil export facilities, or whether diplomatic channels reopen in the coming days. Shifting now to developments in Ukraine, Russian forces launched one of the largest ballistic missile attacks on Ukraine's capital in recent months, killing at least 1 person. President Zelensky described the assault as unusually intense. The BBC reports the strike as a direct challenge to Ukrainian air defenses. Ukrainian officials emphasize the attack's scale, while Russian statements have not detailed specific targets in this round. The incident occurs amid broader regional tensions that already involve multiple powers. Ukrainian authorities will assess damage to infrastructure and report on any further Russian launches in the days ahead. Next, a story from West Africa shows how distant conflicts affect daily life. Health workers in northern Nigeria report more children returning to malnutrition clinics, attributing the increase to higher food prices and reduced aid flows connected to the Iran conflict. The Hindu International notes that local aid groups see the effects in states already struggling with poverty. The disruptions trace to higher global energy costs and shipping delays that raise import bills for staple foods. Officials in the region say the trend has accelerated in recent weeks. Aid organizations will monitor child nutrition data through the summer to determine whether additional feeding programs are required. In Southeast Asia, Indonesia has drawn attention for its diplomatic choices regarding Iran. Indonesia, the world's most populous Muslim-majority country, sent only its ambassador rather than a higher-level delegation to the funeral of Iran's supreme leader. The choice drew criticism from some former diplomats as a slight to Tehran. The South China Morning Post reports that the decision reflects Jakarta's effort to maintain non-aligned policy while managing relations with Washington. Former ambassadors questioned whether U.S. pressure influenced the minimal presence. Indonesian officials have described the move as consistent with standard protocol. Analysts will watch Indonesia's voting positions at upcoming international meetings for signs of any shift in its balancing approach. Turning to business developments in Asia, 3 major Japanese firms are collaborating on artificial intelligence development that relies on NVIDIA processors. The partnership aims to strengthen domestic capabilities in the sector. Nikkei Asia reports the companies are pooling resources to build large-scale AI systems. The effort comes as global competition in AI hardware intensifies. Industry observers note that access to advanced chips remains a key constraint for non-US developers. In the energy sector, Chinese manufacturers have expanded their share of the worldwide wind turbine market to almost 80%. The growth reflects both domestic production scale and exports to other countries. Nikkei Asia tracks the rise through industry shipment data. European and U.S. turbine makers have lost ground as Chinese costs remain lower. Governments outside China are weighing how to support their own manufacturers while meeting renewable energy targets. Now, some progress worth knowing about. Uzbekistan has signed agreements with foreign companies to develop solar and wind projects, marking a shift away from its traditional gas-based power system. The country aims to add several gigawatts of renewable capacity in the coming years. Nikkei Asia reports that investors see stable policy support and available land as advantages. The main complication remains the need to upgrade transmission lines to carry power from remote sites to cities. Officials have set targets for renewables to reach a larger share of the national mix by 2030. To really understand the Nigeria story, consider how distant conflicts raise food prices in places far from the fighting. Most coverage of Middle East fighting focuses on direct military moves, yet the economic ripple effects on distant food supplies receive less attention. When shipping insurance costs rise and certain sea lanes face higher risk, freight rates for grain and cooking oil increase even for countries far from the fighting. Nigeria imports a significant share of its staples. Higher global energy prices also raise fertilizer and transport costs inside the country. The same pattern appeared during earlier disruptions in the Black Sea and Red Sea, where benchmark grain prices moved upward within weeks. Knowing this link helps readers separate claims about local drought from the measurable contribution of conflict-related logistics costs. One concrete check is to follow monthly reports from the UN Food and Agriculture Organization on cereal import prices for West Africa and compare them with updates on Hormuz and Red Sea transit data. If you want to go deeper on the latest US-Iran developments, compare how Al Jazeera and France 24 are covering the story. Tomorrow, watch for any signs that additional US strikes have expanded beyond military targets. That's Omni View. As always, compare outlets, look for primary documents, and separate what's known from what's assumed. The world is complicated, but it's not beyond understanding, and you just spent a few minutes understanding it better. If that's worth something to you, subscribe wherever you listen. See you tomorrow. And if you'd rather watch than listen, find us on YouTube at Nara Network. Links in the show notes. One more thing, if you liked today's episode, our sister show Fascinating Frontiers is worth a spot in your feed. The most fascinating news from space and science. It's one of the Nara Network's daily briefings, all free at naranetwork.com. Following the long arcs, story trackers on naranetwork.com follow major programs across episodes: Tesla, SpaceX, AI, space science, and more. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.